Alright, so this is a really basic overview of how to exist and navigate in Maya. You'll have to pardon the audio, my real person speaker is currently broken, so this is my laptop mic. But anyway, so navigating around, here's the viewport where you can see objects if you have them in your scene. So to navigate around, it's Alt left mouse button click to rotate around, Alt right mouse button to zoom in and out. Alternately, you can use the scroll wheel for its intended purpose. Alt middle mouse button will sort of pan you back and forth. So that's pretty much how to rotate and move around in your scene. This is your outliner. It'll show you if I make some random stuff in my scene. Just duplicate it around. You can see it shows me all of the objects in my scene. It's super lovely. Very useful for stuff you want to, if you double click something, you can rename it thing, or banana, or whatever. Name it useful things, obviously. But once you start getting 50 PQ1s, you're going to cry, so I highly recommend relabeling stuff. To select multiple objects at once, you can just drag and marquee select everything. Control click on an object will deselect it. Shift click on an object will add it to the other things you have selected. You can also control marquee select to deselect a bunch of stuff at once. And then say if you're happy with your selection, you can do Control G, and that will group your stuff. So you can see now it's under group in the outliner. I don't know. I named stuff really dumb when I'm doing this thing. But anyway, so once stuff is grouped, you can actually move all of it at once together. You can rotate it around together, scale it together. So grouping is good for a number of reasons and useful as grouping. It also just helps organize your outliner. But yeah. So to move, scale, and rotate objects, there's hotkeys for this. You can find the controls over on the side of Maya here. So here's select, translate, rotate, and scale. But again, I like hotkeys because they make things faster. So Q is select. W will pull up this little handle. That's translate. E is rotate. R is scale. If you need to change the size of this handle, you can use the plus or minus buttons. Let's see here. The way these handles work, scale's a reasonable one. So if you click in the middle, on this, basically the yellow, in this case square, where all of these red, green, and blue lines or axes converge, click on this yellow part in the center. It'll scale it, rotate it, or move it on all of the axes at once. You can see that all of the little red, green, blue lines are shifting. If I were to grab only this red one and shift it there, that'll scale, no matter where I scale my mouse, it's only changing the x-axis. The x-axis is the red one. I could also do only the z-axis, etc. Get rid of that. It's pretty much the same thing for rotation. So if I click on one of these, it'll only move it along that line, and if I click in the center, okay, interesting. Weird. It's not letting me tumble it. Anyway. Theoretically, it works the same. And then same thing with the translate. Clicking on only one axis will move it just like that. So if you needed to move something straight up and down, you can move it only along the y-axis by just selecting the y handle. Or if you wanted to move it freely through space, you could click in the center and just drag it randomly. I don't necessarily recommend doing this, particularly with translate in the perspective camera, because it does weird stuff and you can move stuff and it ends up somewhere you don't expect it. It's just kind of arbitrary seeming. But yeah, so that's there's a few other hotkeys. So if you have an object selected and it's crazy off to the corner, if you press the F key, it'll center your camera over that object, which is super lovely and super helpful. But that's just a really, really, really quick how to navigate and basically put objects in Maya, select them, and move them. I will have some more specific tutorials coming later. But yeah, so hopefully that was helpful. I know it was a little bit fast, but it was kind of just meant to be a recap. I'm making this for my students who should have seen this in class, so that's why it's a bit fast. But yeah, I might link, consider looking in the description, I might link a list of hotkeys pretty much that I go over in this tutorial, as well as a few other ones, just so you can see them, but yeah.